In today's video, I'm going to be talking about spoke length. Now, this is important when we get to replacing a spoke or doing a wheel build, and there is not just one size of spoke. This should be pretty obvious, but a lot of conversations I've had is someone comes in, I've broken a spoke, I need a new one. What size do you need? Now, I get a lot of, just a standard wheel, just a standard spoke. There's no such thing. Now, some brands might have a particular spoke they use for that wheel, and it's going to be what they would class as standard, but it's not going to fit a different brand. And I'm going to show you why. Now, there's a few different types of things to factor in. I want to talk about ERD, which stands for effective rim diameter. Now, effective rim diameter doesn't start from the top of the rim to the bottom of the rim. It's actually where the spoke nipple meets the rim and however thickness this inner wall here is. So let's say your spoke goes into here. We want to know the distance at the top of this part of the wheel here. So when you look at the wheel from where the spoke goes, it's not just to there, it's actually however thick that metal is, or the aluminium or carbon or whatever it is. We want to measure that. So we need to measure that from, say, like this point here to this point here in a straight line. And that's how we work out effective rim diameter. Some wheels will have it written there, but it's not always the case because a 700C wheel doesn't have the same ERD as another 700C wheel, because you're going to have different depths. Like Bontrager, I know they do like a 60, they do an 80, they do a few other ones. Most of them are probably around about that 25 or 30 for a standard type of wheel. Maybe a bit more, even a bit less. But effectively, effective rim diameter is from the bottom of the rim, not the top. Another factor we've got to pack in as well is how many spokes the wheel is. Now, this is probably more directed at building a wheel, but it also works when you're putting a new spoke in a wheel as well. So let's say, for instance, we had to replace this spoke here. Right, so what we can see here, you can see we've got 1, 2, 3 spokes here, and then we've got our fourth one, and it crosses 3 spokes. That's what we call a 3 cross. Pretty standard. And what's going on here, we go over these two, well, it depends on which way the spoke is, but if the spoke, let's say the spoke comes out of the hub this way, and then goes over the top, we want to go over these two, and then underneath that one. Now, if you had to put the spoke in to the wheel, so it was on the inside of the hub, or inside of the flange rather, then you would go under, over. Have a look at the pattern of your wheel, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. Now, to figure out how long a spoke is, if it's just your wheel and you're replacing one spoke, it's pretty simple. So you pretty much find a couple of spokes that seem close, and I usually just rest the head of the spoke against where it should be, and just get the spoke and get it as close as you can to here, maybe a little bit longer, maybe 2 mils or something, 4 mils, whatever it might be. And that's how you would work that out. Now, if you're building a wheel, that's a little bit of a different story. So we have a couple of things we have to look at if we're building a wheel. We want to know the effective length of the axle or the hub. So it's not point to point, it's basically where the hub is going to be touching your forks or in the rear triangle of your bike, whether it's front or rear wheel. We'll go with front wheel, it's a bit easier to do. So most standard front hubs are 100 mil effective. So we need to know that length. And then what we want to know as well is the distance. Let's just draw a real makeshift hub here. Maybe just like a stick figure one. Then you got your axle here, like that. So we want to know the overall length between there and there. That's going to be 100 mil on a front wheel, 110 if it's boost. And then what we want to know is the distance between this point and this point. Most of them are around about that 35 mil, 25 mil, something like this. So we do that on both sides. We'd get the measurement for left and right. And then what we want to know is the distance between here and here. and then you would find out your ERD, and then you put all that together, and then you want to know how many cross it's going to be. So in this example, this is a 3 cross, so we put 3 cross in here, and then what we'll do is then we'll calculate how you do that. So how do you do that? There's plenty of websites online that can help you do this. I personally use Pro Wheel Builder. I haven't used it in quite a while because I haven't been in a bike store for probably 18 months, a bit longer than that maybe. And you put all that detail in and it will tell you what spoke length you need. Now it will say it in points, like 274.6. I'll just go 274. I'll just go that little bit shorter. So it's pretty easy like that, and if they're quite symmetrical, the spoke length is going to be the same on either side. Now your rear wheel is going to be a little bit different, because what you're going to have is you're going to have a cassette body there, and then that, and this might be a little bit longer, it might have a disc on it or something like this. Now if it was a front and it had a disc, it's going to be a little bit out, but it's not going to be enough to use 2 different spokes. In some cases maybe, if you've got different flange sizes, there's all these factors, but when it's a cassette, generally speaking, it's going to be a 2mm difference between spokes, but sometimes it can be different. I've seen up to 4mm or even 5mm, maybe with some Reynolds wheels. Now we'll do the same thing again. Everything would be exactly the same, but we're going to measure from here to this point. Now that's probably going to be more likely to be 50mm or 60mm or something like that. Could be, there's always differences, but that's around about what it would be. And then your drive side's going to be 2mm shorter. Now, Pro Wheel Builder will help you. I'll find a link down below so you can do that if you ever want to build a wheel yourself. Now, to work out whether it's a 3 cross or a 2 cross, there's a couple of factors you've got to look at. Now, my rule of thumb is depending on how many spoke hole the hub is. So 32 or 36, whatever it is, I'll do a 3 cross. Now, if it's in the 20s, like 24 or 28, or even 20, I'll use a 2 cross. Anything less than 20, most of that stuff's going to be radial, because once you start getting to less spokes, it becomes more road bike. They want lightweight and they're going to go radial. Now, radial is when the spokes are just straight up. Now that's really good for front wheels. You might see it on a non-drive side on a back wheel, but your drive side on your back wheel is always usually going to be a cross system, because you need this, it's going to have a lot of force going through there, and a cross is way stronger than radial. But if you don't need the strength, then radial is fine, particularly for front wheels. That's all I've really got for wheels. I just want to sort of show that there's not a standard spoke. In fact, most bikes will have 3 different types of spokes in them, even 4 in some cases, but realistically it's only really going to be 3. Unless because it's a single speed, like a BMX. Like BMX is generally always, I think it was 184 for rear and 186 for front, because the hubs are a little bit smaller on the front, so you need that 2mm extra longer, and they're always 3 cross with a 36 hole hub. But again, that information's going back more than 10 years, but I don't see it changing because it worked. So that's all I've really got for building wheels or replacing spokes. If you ever go and replace a spoke, take your wheel down to the store. They will more than likely have the spoke for you, or they might have something that's a little bit longer and they'll just be able to cut that spoke down a little bit and re-thread it. Most shops, not every single one, so if they don't have the tool, don't look at them like they're a bad store. It's just probably not in their niche, or they have started and not really done that, or they've just normally always have the correct amount of spokes. I've had one store I've worked at that had every single spoke. It was a dream as a wheel builder or a mechanic. So that's all I've got. Hope you've learned something. Give us a comment if you want any other video ideas or any feedback. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.